Hi, this is Phil Soussan, and you are watching Talking About Rock.
All right, today's guest is a bass guitarist, songwriter, and producer. He's currently a member of the band Last in Line, and in 2017 was inducted into the Rock Gods Hall of Fame. Currently, he's working on his latest solo album. Let's welcome Phil Soussan. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, definitely great to have you. So let's talk about what you got going on here. You recently signed with Brave Words Records and got a new solo album you'll be working on, Cosmic Fighters. So what can you share with us about this new record? Give us a little sneak peek.
So the title of the album is going to be called Cosmo Fighter. It seems to be, we seem to have a couple of variations that have been going around. So I'm going to have to speak to the powers that be and make sure we get that correct.
Yeah, I double checked that feed a couple times. So I will correct that in here though. Cosmo Fighter.
Cosmo Fighter. Thank you. It's going to be an album, but it's in the form of 3 EPs that are going to come out separately. Each EP, of course, is going to have 4 songs on it. And that way we'll have a sort of continuing, it's like a trilogy. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So it'll be like a storyline going through it maybe a little bit, or some artwork that collaborates it together, or...
Definitely some artwork, and definitely there's a continuing sort of underlying story that joins all of these songs together. So absolutely right. But I like the idea of doing that because it also, in the past we used to put an album out and it came out and that was it. And we promoted it and did all of that stuff. But in today's day and age, things are slightly different. Sure, I don't need to tell you. And so by doing it this way, we'll constantly be able to have stuff coming out and keep not just promotion, but keep activity about it. So it becomes like a long sort of chapter rather than just, by putting the album out and just having it come out. It's a continuing chapter. And I'm very much looking forward to working like that.
That sounds like a great idea. Definitely a fresh take on it from what I've seen for sure. Can you maybe mention a guest or two you might have on there, maybe in the works coming up? Anybody that maybe you can spill the beans on a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that. It's unfortunately, there's not too many people on it. I actually wrote and performed most of the album myself. There's a few of us, a few good friends, some who shall remain nameless. They're very, very well known, who we sort of work like that sometimes, because in the process of writing the record, when you're working on your own, you're in your studio and then you're saying, well, let me see if this guitar part works with this bass part. And then, no, it doesn't work. Yes, it does work. And you keep re-recording and playing back. Well, by the time it sounds like it's all great, it's finished and it's done. And that's really how the album was done. I do have a couple of guests on there. My dear friend Richie Cartson played some solo on one of the songs on the first EP, and on I think it's going to be the second EP. My other very good friend Carmine Appice played drums on it, so that was cool. Jay Shallon played drums on another track, but it wasn't really much of a guest sort of process. I literally went into the studio and started writing about a year ago, or just over, and started writing some songs because Last in Line was taking a hiatus for a while. And so I thought, well, I'll just write some songs and put them down. And I got into a role. I wrote, in about 2 months, I wrote 16 songs. And then I sent them out, and I had interest from a couple of different labels. And I was very pleasantly surprised, to be honest with you, because I don't take anything for granted. And you never know how these things are going to work. But when someone calls you up and says, we really love these songs and we really would be interested in working with you, I was feeling very, very... very, very blessed, very privileged, flattered too. So I ended up signing this deal with Brave Words Records, and they're wonderful people. So that's kind of the background.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing project, definitely. And Mike Brandvold better take care of you over there for sure, definitely. But you mentioned Carmine, and you're also playing on one of his tracks also for Temple of the Blues too, down in the bottom, which I thought sounded great.
Oh, thank you. I've actually done quite a lot of work with Carmine over the last 2 or 3 years. We did a project, a one album project that we're trying to sort of shop around at the moment. Great record. I did that with Michael Voss, Carmine, myself, and Paul Shortino singing. And I love Paul to death, but I don't think I've ever heard him sing quite this well on anything in 2 decades. It's an amazing record. So we're trying to sort of push that around at the moment. And then I've done a lot of other sessions with Carmine. I've played on his Cactus remake albums, and we've done a couple of. We did a Fernando Perdomo track as well. It was pretty cool. And it's funny. I play with both of the Appice or Appice brothers, whichever one you ask.
right. Depending on who you're talking to, right? Yeah, it's Vinny Appice, I believe, and Carmine Appice. I believe that's how it goes.
No, it's the other way around.
Oh, it's the other way around. Oh, my mistake. Okay, so I get confused sometimes too. Okay,
it's 2 brothers separated by a common surname.
Definitely. So you've been super busy doing other stuff too. So the new Ride the Rainbow tribute to Richie Blackmore has come out, and you're doing Temple of the King and I Surrender. And I thought that sounded amazing as well on there. Definitely.
Oh, I loved playing on that track. I mean, Richie Blackmore is a legend, and somebody who I grew up listening to and loving dearly. And the opportunity to play this track, and it's one of my favorite tracks, by the way. And I just really had a thrill playing on it. It was great. I almost had an opportunity to play with Richie Blackmore quite some time ago. It never came together. And so this was something I was always not sad about, but I would have loved to have done that. Unfortunately, I was at the time I just started working with Billy Idol, and I just couldn't seem to find a way to be in 2 places at once. It just
right.
Yeah, sometimes you get a couple of opportunities and it's like, gosh, come on, man. I wish I could do both of these. But so this was a great track. I really loved playing on it. I thought everyone sounded great on it too.
Yeah. So speaking of your career, you've done some amazing stuff here. So let's touch on a little bit of that. Obviously, you toured with Oz for the Ultimate Sin tour. Co-wrote, Shot in the Dark for his album. Do you recall that time a little bit? Any good memories from those days?
Oh my God!
Through all that?
Absolutely. I loved Ozzy. Yeah, we got on great. And one of the most memorable things I think for me was when I first came to America on that tour. I was very young. I was like 23 or something, and I'd never been to America, and I never toured America. And Ozzy was just thrilled about this. I mean, he was kind of so excited to show me everything wherever we went. It was almost like he was kind of living vicariously through me, like the first time he'd ever toured. And he was very excited, and I was very excited about it. It was just a fantastic time. And of course, the band was amazing. Randy Castillo, who became my lifelong best friend. And we just had a blast together, and everyone else on that tour as well. It was a great band. Jake was fantastic, was an incredible guitar player. Ozzy was completely rejuvenated with this whole, I don't know how to put it, but the whole Ultimate Sin just exploded.
Yeah, that was really big, and I was checking out some of the early video for that back in the day. You guys played Top of the Pops like in '86. I was watching the video from you guys playing, and that was amazing. Just a different time in the world back then, obviously, But that song blew up so big, as everybody knows. That was just huge. That was probably his biggest hit for a long time.
Well, and I think it was at a perfect time. Sharon had clearly laid out to us that that the Bark at the Moon album, for whatever reason, hadn't quite done as much as they thought it was going to, and there was this other album to do. And she even suggested this was probably going to be maybe this last album or something. And so we went into that with the understanding that, well, let's see what happens. And then that song came out, and it just blew up, and everything else became history. I mean, he never looked back. It was a remarkable time. It was a very long tour, And it just seemed we kept going around markets over and over again. And you'd think that the audiences would diminish and deplete, but they were packed every time.
Yeah.
We got to the end of the tour and we just said, geez, maybe we should just go home now.
Yeah, I saw you guys twice on that tour. Yeah, but definitely. So you left Ozzy in '88, and they were talking about it earlier. You accepted the invitation for Billy Idol and to do with his band, and then on the album Charmed Life. There, how is it working on that project?
It was great. I loved working with Billy, but it's a difficult thing. It was a difficult thing for people to understand at the time, because many people said Ozzy Osbourne, Billy Idol. I mean, they didn't see them as being in the same genre, right?
Right.
Classic rock over here, and this is kind of post-punk or whatever you want to call it. And it just made no sense. A lot of interviews I did, people said, Billy Idol? I mean, that's really unlikely. And you'd have to go back into my history. I was born in Maida Vale in London, in Paddington is the area. And right about then, in the very early or mid-'70s, a style of music started right there, and it was called punk. And that's where all those bands came from. London SS, the one it was, Kilburn and the High Roads, Generation X, The Clash. It all started there. That's where it started, in my backyard.
Right.
And of course, I was a huge classic rock fan, and I sort of was also, I had to live a bit of a double life, because when you're in your mid-teens, and that's the music of your generation, I'm not talking about the Who, but the music of my generation, you are, of course, part of that. You want to be part of that, but at the same time, you're sort of torn between, well, I sort of like all these other bands, and I'd also like this as well. And I always had this desire to be able to play in one of those bands. I had a very good friend at the time called John Tao, and he was a drummer, and he was the original drummer in Generation X. And we did sessions together, and he'd say to me, come up to me, he'd say, hey, Phil, I'm going to try and get you in one of these punk bands with me, all right? We're going to see if we can get you in it. And it never really happened. And the reason it didn't happen is I was about 4 years too late to that party. And for people in America, by about 1976, 77, punk was pretty much done in Britain. And that was it. It was done. So I always had this kind of bucket list thing about Billy Idol. I mean, I would see Billy, I'd see him here and there. And then one day this opportunity came up to work with him, and I jumped on it. I just said, absolutely, I would love to do this. And we had a great time playing together. It was really fun. We had a great time working together. He had just moved. He had spent some time in LA because we were there, and then he decided to move to LA. So he moved out there. We got together. We started working and on the Charmed Life album. And so that's why I did that.
Yeah, definitely some great tracks from him, and so good to see him come back in the last couple of years, touring again and just playing shows again. Just some great stuff for sure.
I have to add something very funny as well, because you mentioned Top of the Pops, which a lot of people don't realize, but that was the show in England. I mean,
right. That's what you had to be on. Everybody was on that. Like Priest was on that, Black Sabbath. You had to play that if you're in England, right?
Yeah, I saw David Bowie on there doing
Changes or
Starman.
Starman. Yeah,
and that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do, was play music. But when we did Top of the Pops, there was another band on that same show that night, and it was, funnily enough, it was The Damned. and so there's another one of those kind of like parallel connections with the whole punk thing as well. I remember being thrilled, like, oh my gosh, there's The Damned.
Right, just crossing paths, right, almost at the same time there, definitely. Yeah, so you've done a lot of interesting stuff, so let's talk a little bit about that also. You played with Vince Neil in that fictional band Black Plague for the movie The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Yep. With Andrew Dice Clay. And then Vince asked you to write some songs with what eventually become, the Vince Neil band for the Exposed album.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, Vince and I had been friends. We met in London. We met at the Marquee years before. And then when I was playing with Ozzy, of course, we really kind of had an opportunity to kind of spend more time together, and we became good friends, and we socialized a lot. We spent a lot of time together. So it was a pretty easy thing when he called me up and he said, I'm going to do this movie and I need to put a band together. So you want to do this with me? And I said, sure. And of course we got Randy Castillo and Carlos Cavazo in the Black Plague band.
Yeah.
And then it was a short while after then, of course, when he had separated from Motley Crue, and he called me. Actually, I got a phone call from the great Bruce Bird, his manager, who I love dearly, sadly no longer with us. And it was Bruce and him and who else was on the call? Somebody else was on the call. Anyway, and Bruce said, "Hey, we're sitting here with Vince, and you need to put a band together. You have a friend here, and this is what you're going to do." And I said, "Okay." So,
this is what you're going to make happen.
It was Jack Blades.
Okay. Yeah.
And I love Jack as well. We've known each other too. Well, Bruce was a wonderful guy, but he was a guy who was a real execution type of guy. So he could see it. He could see what was going to work, what was going to make it happen. And he basically was orchestrating everything to come together in a very nice way, by the way. I'm not saying this in a way that was in any way, negative.
Disparaging, right, yeah.
Disparaging. He was just a very, very good person at bringing things together. So, and that's how that came to be. And every morning I got up and went to Vince's house, and early, 8:30 in the morning. And we'd sit down, and we were very excited, and we'd work on songs, a lot of songs that I had previously written for Ozzy, and I had taken with me when I stopped working with Ozzy, ended up on that album.
Yeah, and it was a great way when they opened the movie with the band doing that, and obviously You're Invited But Your Friends Can't Come was the kind of the song that pushed that album, which was definitely a great track. And yeah, we didn't know if Vince was going to go back with Crue or what was going to happen at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that song, that blew up as well. I mean, it was just like, it was another shot in the dark type of thing. It went viral. I remember one DJ got fired because they played it continuously for an hour on radio station. And people loved the video, and people loved the song.
Yeah, the video was a lot of fun, yeah.
It was a great time. It was a great song, and it was just wonderful to be part of that. And it was, he was thrilled to bits. I mean, he was so excited because I think it really said to Vince, you have this, you can do this. Anytime someone has some success in what we do, it would be a lie to say that any musician goes into a project without having, these voices of doubt. Is this good enough? Is it going to be, are people going to like what I'm doing?
Right. Is it the right time? Is it the right material? I mean, there's so much stuff that goes in it, right?
Right. We don't take for granted what we do. And we also appreciate very much our audience. If it wasn't for our audience, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have anything. If there's people who are out there listening to the songs, buying songs, we'd have nothing. So we're always kind of concerned and thinking to ourselves, well, gee, I hope the audience is going to like what we're doing. I hope our fans are going to like what we're doing. It's what makes you, stay on top of what you're trying to do and try to do the best thing you possibly can. At least that's how I feel. But
yeah, and as they say, at the end of the day, a good song is a good song, right? You know what I mean? You've got that feeling and that energy. You connect with your audience, and that's just it. So moving along here. So in 2006, you released your debut solo album, Vibrate, featuring you singing and playing both guitar and bass. And then in 2011, the second solo album, No Protection, and you played predominantly, I guess, all the instruments on there. That was definitely some amazing stuff going on there as well.
Yeah, that first album was kind of cast a little bit more. There were a lot of guests on there, a lot of people who I'd worked with and who I wanted to record with. It had been an aggregate of songs that had been written over a long period of time. And they were songs where I'd write something and say, oh, you know what, I think I want to keep that for if I'll put a record together someday. And that's how that happened. The second album, No Protection, there was a lot of stuff that I played myself. I mean, there were a few guests as well, but predominantly most of it was played by myself. But I think the real difference between the two records is when the first one was an aggregate of songs, the second one was something I sat down and wrote all the songs in one sequence. And it was a snapshot moment in time. So people ask about, No Protection, if it's about condoms or something. And it's really not. It's really, the whole idea was there's really no protection from life, from what happens around you. I think John Lennon said it best that life is what happens while making other plans.
Plans, yep, definitely, yep.
In this particular case, certain things had happened in my life, personal things where it's like, oh my gosh, all of this has happened. And no matter what you're doing, you have to come to grips with and to come to terms with the fact that life goes on and there is no protection from that. That's really what it meant. It's an album I'm very proud of. I still open my live set with the very first track, which is called No Protection. And it's an album that's very, very special to me. I never really promoted those two albums very much. I sort of put them out for diehard fans and never really plugged them a lot. So, they're out there.
Yeah, might be something to revisit in the future, definitely, for sure. So it brings us up to 2016. You joined Last in Line following the death of original bassist Jimmy Payne. Great lineup here with Vivian, and Vinny. Recently you guys parted ways with singer Andrew Freeman due to some creative differences there. And what I'm reading now, you're holding auditions and searching for the new vocalist for the fourth album.
Yeah, we've got someone of great interest. Let's just say that. We've actually been sort of doing some work and stuff remotely, but we are going to get together very, very soon. And I think there will be that will be the yes/no announcement that's coming up very soon. But unfortunately, I can't say very much more than that. So,
right. I understand. Yeah, I know fans are just waiting to see what happens with that because they're waiting for that next Last in Line album like everybody else.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic because I think it's going to be a new chapter and a progression as well. So excited about that, but that's probably not, that's in the interim period. I guarantee you all of this is going to happen at the same time because that's just the way of the world,
Right. Everything all at once. Exactly. Yeah. So one thing I want to ask you, maybe you could help our audience out with, since you probably co-wrote that one of the biggest Ozzy songs, "Shot in the Dark." Got any advice for any of the songwriters out there at all? Anything you can maybe tell them to think about, or?
Writing a song is there are two things that define the success of the song. Number one is the commercial success of the song, but the other thing is, we write songs for a reason. We write songs because they're a way for us to express what we feel. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, and convey it to other people. I even refer to songwriting sometimes as a bit of a therapy session. My wife is a mental health counselor. She's a therapist. And she said to me one time, in passing, she said, "Do you ever think about go and seeing a therapist or whatever?" And I said, "And what for?" And she said, "No, it's not that there's anything wrong with you, but sometimes it's great to talk about things and what have you."
Right.
And I looked at her and I said, "Well, if I did that, I'd have nothing to write about."
Right. That's how you express your feelings. Exactly. Right.
So that's the first thing. I think when you write a song, you want to make sure that you are doing the best job of putting it across. And this because you get some element of closure. So if it's something that's affecting you, whether it's good or bad, and you've written the right song and you can sit back, you get this feeling and you're like, I can put it to bed. I have this closure now. So that's the most important thing for me. The other part, the commercial success, that's about planets lining up. I looked on my ASCAP the other day. I've got 460 titles on there or something crazy. And it's like nuts. I wouldn't know which one is the single, which one is going to do well, which one is not going to do well. You don't know. Being in the right place, the right time, the right song, everything lining up, and all of a sudden something can happen. But you don't really have control over that, unfortunately. I wish you did. But there again, we're in this business because we are passionate about this business. And being passionate about this business means that you care about it to the point sometimes where it's the only thing that makes any sense in this world. And with that attitude, you will write great songs. You will come up with great material. And if somebody likes it and it becomes a commercial success, then more power to you. That's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely some good words of advice there. So one last thing for you, any release date or month or so coming up for the new solo 4-pack EP, Cosmo Fighters, and any dates floating around yet?
Yeah, possibly September. So what I've got to do before then is I've got a nice list of things. I've got to do 2 videos, doing finishing up some artwork. The album artwork is done. I'll probably do another photo shoot or 2 just to have additional material. and then we can start building towards the release. So it's a long process. What's that saying? It takes 20 years to become an overnight sensation.
right. That's what they say.
There's a lot of work goes into it. And anyone who's a musician out there will appreciate what I'm saying, but there's so much work that goes into that final moment, and hopefully it all converges at the same time and something nice happens. So
yeah, definitely. So we definitely look forward to that. And folks, you can check out Phil, like we're saying, on the new Temple of Blues 2 All-Stars with Carmine, and the Ride the Rainbow, the tribute album with Richie Blackmore. All right. So that wraps up this episode of Talking About Rock. Thank you to our guests today, Soussan, and to our listeners. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are.
Thank you
again. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.